Hey, this is Gary Bruce of GMBMusicGuitarLessons.com. Want to do a follow-up to some previous videos I did on patterns 1 and 2, pentatonic patterns 1 and 2 in the key of G minor. Before we go to patterns 3, 4, and 5, there's 5 patterns because a pentatonic scale is, you guessed it, a 5-note scale, and each note of the scale starts out as a root of that scale and creates a separate pattern. Now, did I lose you? Don't worry about it. All right. But first, let's take a look at the notes of a G minor pentatonic scale. Because in music, it comes down to two things. Intervals. If you place the right intervals, meaning distances, between notes, and we're measured musically in like half steps, whole steps, step and a half, and then you get into like the technical terms for them, like a step's called a major second, a step and a half is a minor third, and etc., etc. Right now we just be using steps and half steps and etc. But when you take any root note, and we'll say take G, and you go a step and a half, that puts you on a B flat note, not A sharp. Why? Because pentatonic skipped the second note in the musical alphabet. So a G would not go to A sharp, it will go to B flat. My tuner's on. Let me turn it off. It's a distraction. So you go from G, and let me lay this out on one string on the G string. This will make more sense. Get a little more comfortable here with my footstool. Okay, so G would go a step and a half to a B flat. Then that would go a step to a C, a step to a D, a step and a half to an F, and a step back to G. So let's review. Couldn't get it out. It's still early, man. G, step and a half, B flat. Step C, step D, step and a half F, step G. So you get G, B flat, C, D, F, G. And your intervals are step and a half, step, step, step and a half, step. Write this down. Step and a half, step, 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 step and a half, step. So to form the first pattern, we start on the first note called the root of the key G. And we can play it on one string, which is kind of cool because I do riffs, you know, like this. People go, what's that? And I go, it's just a one-string G minor pentatonic, and I've got the pick going real fast with some distortion and delay. And then I'm pulling off notes, like I pull off the B flat, and the C, and the D, and the F, and the G. They're called pedal tones. So I'm pedaling off that G note, and you can do them in any combination with hammer-ons and pull-offs. So be that as it may, let me go back to my clean sound. Got stuff somewhere way down here. Okay, so pattern 1, we mentioned the fingering all earlier, but we didn't talk about the notes. So here it goes. G, B flat, C, D, F, G. That's the first octave. So an octave is when you started on a root note and then you've hit that note in upper register. You've come like full circle to it. On a piano, if you read it left to right, you start on G and you go B flat, C, D, F, G. That's one octave. And then on a piano, you can go several octaves because you got all those keys. On a guitar, you can go 2, 3 at the most unless you have a 24th fret, and then you can go 4 octaves. But right now, we're going to be dealing with 2 octaves. So the first octave again, G, B flat, C, D, F, G. Now I'm going to hit that G again to end the first octave, which I just did. I'm going to hit it again to start the second octave. G, B flat, C, D, F, G. So I like to split my octaves up so you can help you learn your notes. Now why am I picking the key of G with that B flat in it? Because we have access to the whole fretboard. If I started with A or B or C, you're going to run out of room and then you have to loop it back around. That's a little confusing when you first start. So that's why I'm starting on G. All right, now we're going to take the second note of that G minor pentatonic, which is B flat. And now we use the same notes. We don't worry about the intervals anymore because we've already got the right notes via the intervals. But we start on the second note of the pentatonic, which is B flat. And so now they're played out of sequence. If you want a simple analogy, in pattern 1, we played the first note, the second note, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the octave of the pentatonic scale, not of the key, because it's skipping 2 notes of the key. Because you have 7-note scales called diatonics, well, these are only 5 notes. So here's the notes to pattern 2. B flat, C, D, F, G. There's the root note of the key. B flat, C, D, F, G, B flat. Now that's also known as a B flat major pentatonic because you have what are called relative scales, major and minor scales that share the same notes. So pattern 1 and pattern 2 are relative scales. 1 is the minor, 2 is the relative major. So that's G minor and then B flat major. Now to turn that into a G minor scale, I would pick up the G note, B flat, C, D, F, G. I'd start on G and play to G. G, B flat, C, D, F, G. And you notice that sounds like the second octave of pattern 1. G, B flat, C, D, F, G. G, B flat, C, D, F, G. Let me do it without talking so you can hear it. If you're reading music and it doesn't tell you the position, you can kind of look and see how high the notes are going up above the ledger lines and get an idea. Like if it was going to go, then you'd want to play it off of that fifth position, meaning the G note was in the 5th fret. But that's how we're going to kind of create, or rather, should I say, I want to say correct, but it's like the planets are out of alignment. The notes get out of the proper arrangement when you start on the B flat note instead of the G note. Now it does give you a B flat major, or it gives you what would be called a mode, and a mode is a scale that starts on a note other than the root of the key. So if you start a G minor pentatonic on a B flat, you're creating a mode. All right, we're going to go up to pattern 3, and it's going to start on the 3rd note, G, B flat, C. So I'm going to come to C. Notice I'm starting the root all on the E string to get my full patterns. So here we go. The notes are G, or rather C to D, F to G, B flat to C, D to F, G to B flat, C to D. So if I did the octave, C, D, F, G, B flat, C. And then I would do that again. But what we want to do is not be concerned so much about the root of the scale, but the root of the key, because we're trying to replicate the original 5 notes in the original order. G, B flat, C, D, F, back to G. So we do the same thing we did in pattern 2. We find the G note. C, D, F, G. There it is. And this is going to help you learn your notes, and I would recommend not trying to learn the G, B flat, C, D, and F, but just focus on where the G notes are, right here. G, B flat, C, D, F, G. Now listen to this. This is called playing from root to root. So listen to pattern 3 from root to root, from G to G. Here's pattern 2 from root to root. Second octave of 1. Does that blow your mind or what? It sounds exactly the same. You hear a little bit of tonal difference, like if I were to change my pickup selection. Because this one's got a little more meat into it than this. A little bit deeper tonality. So the pattern would do this, because I talked about fingerings before. Starting on the 8th fret, your fingerings go 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. Then you shift back to 7th position, go 1 and what I call a 3 stretch. Then bring 1 back in 8th position and go 1 with another 3 stretch, 1, 3. 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, shift down, 1, 3 stretch, shift back, 1, 3 stretch, 1, 3. So you kind of learn the fingerings first, and then you learn the root notes, or the notes of the key, and then you kind of narrow that down to, well, where's the root note of the key, because that's the most important of the 5 notes, G in this case. Okay, so pattern 4, can anybody guess what note we're going to start on? Well, we started on the G for 1, we started on B flat for the 2nd pattern, we started on C for the 3rd pattern, the next note is D, that's the 4th pattern. So we come up to this D, and the notes go D, F, I'm turning sideways, sorry, D, F, G, B flat, C, D. So that's the octave. And then I would go D, F, G, B flat, C, D. And when you ran it together, it would sound like, and we're going to tack the F on the end of it. So basically with the pentatonics, you have 2 notes a string, although there are several runs that you can play that will have more than that. So where's the G note at? D, F, G. So if I play root to root, I'll play my G note, G, B flat, C, D, F, G. Now notice I'm going to do a 2 stretch right there, because my next note, B flat, I'm on the 12th fret, is on the 11th fret of the B string. So in order for my fingers to not end up like this, awkward, we do what's called a 2 stretch. We stretch that 2 finger, normally it'd be here, so we stretch it to here, and we pick up C, or rather B flat C, F, or rather D, I'm getting ahead of myself, D, F, and then we're going to slide a step to finish a 2nd octave, G. So here's pattern 4 just by itself. Here's the fingering, 1, 4, starting on the 10th fret, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2 stretch, pulls that first finger to the 11th fret, does a 1, 3, then it backs up to the 10th fret with a 1, 3 stretch. So if you want a verbal tab, your frets are 10, 13, 10, 13, 10, 12, 10, 12, 11, 13, 10, 13. I'm not much on tab because I'd rather you learn the notes. But if you need the verbal tab to learn the pattern, I get that. Okay, pattern 5. Go down back to pattern 1, and you got started. We started it on G, B flat, C, D, and F. So we come up to F, and we're playing the G minor pentatonic from the F note. Excuse me. So we're going F, G, B flat, C, D, F. That's the first octave of that pattern. And then I'm going to hit that again to do the 2nd octave. F, G, B flat, C, D, F, G. So let's go ahead and do the verbal tab. 13, 15, 13, 15, 12, 15, 12, 15, 13, 15, 13, 15. You can see my fingers going 1, 3, 1, 3. I shift down from the 10th to the 9th position, do a 3 stretch, 1, 3. Repeat that on the next string, 1, 3. Come back to 10th position, 1, 3, 1, 3. So you'll notice I'm using that 1, 3 combination a lot because pentatonics, when you see people play riffs with them, let's see if I kick a little distortion on here. You see this. You see that 1-3 happening a lot. Now you do see the 2 stretch when you're coming off the G to the offset B string on patterns 2 and 4. Plus when you do a bend, you don't want that 4th finger because it has no power behind it. You don't want just the 3rd, but you'll see me put down, when I anticipate a bend, I'll put down the 3rd finger and the 2 finger right behind it, and then this 1st finger will come up behind it, so I have 3 in a row for support. I'll do another video on just bends, but all right, so that's our patterns. So let's go back and review them, and well, let's play the 5 pattern from root to root, rather. So here's our G, F, G, 2nd note, G, B flat, C, D, F, G, and in the 2nd octave, G, B flat, C, D, F, G. So I'm going to go back and play all 5 patterns from root to root and listen to how many of them sound exactly the same because they're within the same octave. Here's the 1st octave of 1, 2nd octave. Here's the pattern 2 playing from root to root, G to G. Pattern 3, 1st octave of 4. Now the 2nd octave we go higher. Now listen to 5 and 4, they both sound just alike because they're both 2 octaves. That's 5 root to root, here's 4 root to root. Now I'm going to run them together and not pause on the octave. That's 4, here's 5. If I start on the G note. So you see how it duplicates itself. So when I'm improvising in the key of G minor, people go, how are you all over the neck? Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm using those 5 little blocks called patterns. Some people call them block patterns or boxed patterns. And I'm focusing on, since I'm in the key of G minor, on that G note. Now, as chords change in the key of G, I'm going to focus on other notes of it. So let's say a progression is going like a G5 to an F5. I'd be focusing on my G, and I hit that F note, and I hit that F chord, and then back to the G on the G. That has to do with phrasing, which is another lesson entirely. We got to learn them first. You got to crawl before you can walk, and walk before you run. Okay? No, I didn't make that up. That's a pretty popular saying. But that's how I'm able to improvise with these and move up and down the neck. So on the next video, I'm going to put this into action and give you a play against a backing track that's utilizing these G minor pentatonics.